Hey, this is Father Moses. Just wanted to check in. We started Great and Holy Lent. I wanted to share some thoughts on nutrition and how I think the fast affects people, and my three supplements that I recommend for any fasting periods. So, number one thing to get out of the way is in a fasting period, my experience training heavy powerlifting, I've got a 1665 total in powerlifting and compete in strongman as well, is that look, all of nutrition is made up of fat, carbs, and protein. Now, we can kind of get into a deep dive on that, but I'm going to give you just really quick anecdotal, stories from training. Number one is most people feel like they are lacking protein during the fast. My experience is when you get about 3 or 4 weeks into the fast, that's when you start really getting tired, fatigued. You're probably lifting suboptimal 95, 90% of your max. That's all good and normal. If you're a strength training athlete in any way, shape, or form, you understand that, training is a progression over time, and you're not going to be at 100% all the time. I mean, I couldn't go out to my garage right now and deadlift 650. That doesn't mean I can't pull 650. It just means that, I'm not at that point in the training cycle. I haven't worked up to it. My central nervous system is not there right now. But that doesn't mean that I can't do it, right? So I think number one is I think people kind of way overestimate the problem of quote unquote lack of protein and seriously underestimate the fact that it's actually animal fats that play a big difference in your recovery and overall muscle building and fighting off fatigue. Anecdotally, if you think about it, you're 4 weeks into the fast and somebody offers you a piece of chicken, it's like, it's just chicken. But if you smell a hamburger or a steak, what are you smelling? It's not the protein, you're smelling the fat. That's what your body starts to crave. So, two things to get right out of the way. Number one is I recommend getting vegan protein powder. Why is that? Well, because it's consistent with our fasting principles. For those who have a blessing or can't afford it or whatever else, maybe they do whey protein. That's really between them and their priest. But as a general rule, I highly recommend doing vegan protein powder. I do a lot of old school labs. Obviously, I'm wearing the shirt. I'm an ambassador for them. I love their vegan protein powder. I think it's very good. It's pretty darn soluble. Is it as good as whey protein in terms of bioavailability or eggs or beef? No, it's not. But is it an adequate substitute for those? Yeah, absolutely. Now, how much do I do? We're looking for about 80% of your body weight in protein every day. So I'm roughly 230 pounds right now. So I'm looking to get 200-ish pounds, 200-ish grams of protein every day. I'm probably doing 2 or 3 shakes a day and then some vegan protein bars and then just what's naturally occurring in beans and whatever else. And I'm getting 200 grams of protein. Now, as far as the fats go, because we talked about that, number one thing I would look at is making sure you have adequate oil intake, meaning that you're getting olive oil or coconut oil, that you're getting nuts, fatty foods in your diet, especially like I said, 3 and 4 weeks into the fast. In the first couple weeks of the fast, your body is so saturated with the nutrients and everything else. Like, in my opinion, you don't really start having a quote unquote negative downturn on your training until you're probably literally 3, 4, 5 weeks into the fast. Number two is I highly recommend creatine. I recommend classic creatine. It's just creatine monohydrate. There's lots of studies on creatine. Creatine is naturally occurring in animal products and specifically red meat. What does it help you do? It helps with water retention. You get water into your cells and your body retains some water weight. Guess what? You feel better. You have better recovery. I notice a significant difference taking creatine when I'm fasting than when I wasn't than when I was fasting in the past and didn't take creatine. It's 5 grams of creatine per scoop. For somebody who's training or training heavy like myself, I do 10 grams a day. I take it whenever. Ideally, you take it at the end of your workout. You just got to make sure your water intake is adequate. Obviously, like anything, if you're dehydrating yourself and taking creatine, which fills your cells with water, you're going to have a problem. Use common sense, drink adequate water. look it up online. Number 3, and this can't be understated, love pre-workout. I love doing pre-workout. Why? Because especially during the fast and as the fast gets along, you start to feel fatigued. You feel more tired. It just seems like your body's a little more sluggish than normal. So caffeine is a great way to boost your workouts and get you fired up and kind of help you push through. Now, last but not least, people often ask me, how do I train during a fasting period? I focus more on volume. I'm not trying to hit PRs. I'm certainly not competing. I competed last Lent because there was a local strongman show and it's not powerlifting, and I did fine. I actually won my weight division and whatever else, but was I tip top shape for powerlifting? No, because you can't run at that level all year round. You have periods of peaks and valleys, and so you have to treat your training accordingly. I often say to guys, when people say, oh, how do you hit new PRs or hit new heights when you're fasting? You don't. You simply do not. But you don't set out in the fast to do that either. What do? You set realistic goals, train more volume, don't look to compete, don't look to hit a peak or whatever else. I have a competition I'm looking at doing. It's 13 weeks from now. So I've got another 5-6 weeks of fasting, which still leaves me 6-7 weeks to ramp up before the competition. I think that that's an adequate amount of time to make a lot of gains back. One of the things I've noticed over and over and over again after fasts, and I've been training for years, which is when the fast is over and you start eating meat, in particular red meat, and get all those fats and proteins back in your system, your body responds and bounces back fast. So again, go into it with realistic expectations of what you're hoping to gain or what your goals are. Understand that it's good. It's actually healthy and good for your body to take deloads. It's good for your joints. It's good for your blood work. It's good for the stress of lifting. Focus more on conditioning. Focus more on volume. Set realistic goals, and then just make sure that you're getting enough of the nutrients that you need. Those are my recommendations. I think people way overthink it. The reality is that strength sports, fitness, health in general, it's fun. It's a hobby. I mean, we're not making money off of this. We're not supporting our families. We're doing it because it's a blast. And so go into it with realistic expectations and have fun, and do the things that you can do. Get adequate vegan protein powder, get the creatine, make your workouts enjoyable, throw some caffeine in the mix. So I recommend Old School Labs. I've been very happy with their products over the years that I've been using them. And you can use Priest Moses for, I believe it's a 20% discount on all their products. So I'll put the link in the comments that are pinned. All right. God bless you all. I hope you have a great and fruitful Lent and a glorious Pascha.